All right, Krishna. Hi, Krishna. Monitor it on YouTube and on Instagram, so we know that we're 100% a okay. If there's too much glare, just let me know, guys, please. And then we might move the setting a little bit. Okay. I don't know if you guys can see me on YouTube clearly, right? If you can't see me on YouTube clearly, just let me know and we will move things around. Okay. Cool. So let's take some questions from investors. Okay. So this is a question from an investor who says, "Hey, I'm considering setting up a property holding company in Dubai. What are your thoughts? Okay, what are the tax implications versus holding properties individually? Okay, guys, can you just so can you can you guys see me on YouTube clearly? Yeah, can you guys see me clearly? So the reality is, can't see on YouTube. Okay, so just give me a second. How about this background? Yeah, this background be better. Yeah, this background's gonna be better, guys. We're just gonna adjust a little bit. Okay. Just gonna adjust a little bit. Okay, just give me 1 second. Da 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 da. Okay. So this makes life a little bit easier for everybody. How's this? This better? I think this is better, right? There we go. Okay, so this is better. Okay, so we're kind of like live on location today. Okay, how's this, Krishna? YouTube okay today? Now, can you guys see me on YouTube? Easy to see me on YouTube. Hey, welcome Sahil. Welcome Jamal. Hey, Jamal. Last time you had some questions that I was not really able to go through. I was not really able to answer. So what I'd like to do is, can you shoot across your question again? We were just about beginning to have a conversation, Jamal. In the meantime, I'm going to answer some questions over here that I have. Okay. So somebody asks, I'm considering setting up a property holding company in Dubai. What are the tax implications versus hi Anas, Assalamu alaikum, brother, how are you? What are the tax implications versus holding properties individually? Okay, so first things first. I personally think that if you are a certain net worth, it's certain net worth. Like it could be 5, 10, 50 million dirhams. I think it's definitely that you might want to explore setting up a holding company in Dubai. Okay, the best person to actually give you advice on this is your tax accountant from the resident country that you're based in. So this is not tax advice. Your advisor from the resident company, that the country that you're based in, they would give you the best advice, and then we would introduce you to a local company here that does holding companies for properties locally here, right? They're the best people to give you advice, and they're the best to be able to explain to you why it might work, why it might not work for you. Okay, so you've got to keep in mind one thing I'll tell you as a basic. Okay, one thing I'll tell you as a basic for you to always remember is that when you're doing a property holding company, there will be some additional costs associated to establishing the company, running and keeping it valid during the year, throughout the year. And then post that as well, obviously, you're looking to make sure that the property company is, what you call it, you want to make sure that the property company is valid at the time of transfers and so on and so forth, right? So what you're making sure to do is you're taking into account that extra cost. Okay, so I would recommend that you take into account $10,000 to $20,000 just for the maintenance of the holding company. Okay, just for the maintenance of the holding company. And then a lot of times people, when you're selling properties, you might think about, hey, it's just you coming in for a signature. When it's a company, you've got to remember the company owns the properties, right? So when the company owns the properties, you've got a different set of documents to prove that the company is in good stead, the company is able to sell the property, so on and so forth. So there are some extra points, extra. There's going to be some extra work that you're going to have to do. Don't be turned off of that. It might be worth it. You might actually need to do that. Okay, so don't worry too much about it. Okay. Hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is a very good question from an international investor who says, should I be worried about currency exposure? Should I be worried about currency exposure since my rental income is in AED, but my home expenses are in USD and euros? Okay, basic answer no. I'll tell you why. The number one reason would be that the Dubai dirham is pegged to the dollar. It's kind of like same on same, right? And it's been the same for the last many years. Like I don't remember when the dollar peg started, but it's been like that for a long time. So you're gonna have, so you don't so you're not worried. So essentially speaking, you're not gonna have to worry about, hey, what about my dollar? The problem comes when you're buying or investing in a country where it's not pegged to an international currency and you're continuously fluctuating. Okay, we all know those countries, we all know them, and I think those are the countries that you have to be really concerned about. Okay, Shihara Apex Aura. Okay, salam alaikum, bro. Assalam wa rahmatullah. Yes, how are you? How are you doing? You got a question, brother? Please shoot the question across. I'm happy to answer questions. Today is the day we're answering all questions possible property related. Okay, all questions possible property related. Okay, Salam paid 60%. Salam paid 60%. What is this? Salam paid 60%. Mr. Nitin Nath joined us. Hey, Mr. Nitin, how are you? Jamal asks a question. Let's help you, Jamal. Bismillah. Salam. Paid 60% value off plan. Mortgage balance. Will UAE Bank check my credit score in the UK? They can. Okay. Abhishek Sharma says my tenant is not paying rent on time, not responding to my message. What is process to eviction as early as possible? Can I give you some advice, guys? Try to have a property management. Jamal, I'm going to answer your question by simply saying yes, possibly they can. What I would suggest is use a local mortgage broker who can actually help you navigate with the banks in the UAE. So if you're looking for Islamic financing, you use a local mortgage broker. They know what they're doing. You can get in touch with our team. We can give you some references and referrals, and you work with them so that they can actually set up your application in the right way. And as you said, will the UAE banks check your credit scores in the UK? Why I'm saying they can and they may is because things change, right? So if I said no, they won't, I'm not an expert in this area. And if they do, then you're like, hey, Fahd, you said they won't. Okay. So you got to keep that in mind. Okay. Okay. So Sahara, Assalamu alaikum. Did you have a question? Abhishek says, my tenant is not paying rent on time, not responding my message or call. What is the process to eviction as early as possible? So in the Dubai real estate environment, this is the general loose process. Don't take this as legal advice. Please go and seek legal advice from a lawyer. Generally speaking, what ends up happening is you give them a one the moment they default, you give them a rectification notice or a remedy notice through the notary public, that is that they should pay in 30 days. Post that, I believe you can start procedures to evict them, go to the rental court, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, what I see, and this is not just you, this happens with a lot of people. What I see as a problem that sometimes happens is a lot of landlords become too friendly with the tenants, or the landlords don't understand that this is a professional relationship, right? It's kind of like you go to a restaurant, you pay the restaurant a bill at the end of your meal, and therefore you eat over there, right? So it's a customer relationship. Your tenant is your customer. You are the service provider, as in you're providing the apartment and tenant. A lot of landlords become friends with their tenants. This is an absolute no-no. Nobody's saying that you have to have a rough or a tough relationship, but you can't have a friendly relationship. What does a friendly relationship mean? A friend is somebody you can ask for a favor. So if you have a friendly relationship, then it's very easy for you to say, or the tenant to say, hey, by the way, they're not able to pay rent this month. Would it be please kindly okay for you to defer the payment for 60 days, 15 days, 10 days, right? And once you go down that track and you're friends with them, then it's very difficult to pull back, because if they don't pay you in 15 days and they give you another excuse and they say, hey, well, I'm about to pay you in 10 more days. And look, things can go on for like this, right? 60 days, 2 months, 45 days. And then you've lost a lot of traction, okay? You've lost a lot of time. So, ideally speaking, the moment, this is my advice when we're managing properties, the moment a tenant says that they want to delay a check, when we're managing properties for the landlord, what we would tell the tenant that, look, we are allowing you to perhaps a one-time favor of delaying your payment by 5 days or 10 days, but it's going to cost you 500 dirhams for the inconvenience fee, right? Because you're causing an inconvenience, or 300 dirhams or 200 dirhams or 100 dirhams. And you know what generally happens when you explain to the tenant that the landlord might also have other bills to pay, mortgage to pay, they might have other things to do with that money, right? What generally, and then that's why there's an inconvenience fee, and you can only delay your money once. Then what ends up happening is a lot of these people, they just pay you. They're like, okay, forget the 300 dirhams. They just manage the money and pay you, right? So you shouldn't be in that position in the first place, now that they're not responding to calls and messages. And I don't want to give you horror stories, but I know horror stories, right? So avoid horror stories. The best way to deal with this is to have a property management company. Unfortunately, we're not equipped to handle your situation right now. You need to go to a lawyer who can do this. Okay. And again, the thing is, but a lot of people don't. They don't. You should pay 5% for property management to let the professionals handle this, to start managing your property in the right way from the start. That's the main idea. Okay, welcome CN Azu Limited, Ash Abdullah Al Sahri. How are you? Abdil G, how are you? G. Okay, well done. So that's my point. Okay, always she gives some excuse since March and paying partially to check bounce, first quote notice or RDC, where I will go first. Uh, so you're mentioning the nationality. Look, nationality doesn't really matter. Uh, in all types of nationalities, you get all types of people. So what you should do is, yeah, just go to the RDC, right? Go to the rental dispute center in the land department. Ali Asghar Hussain, Assalamu alaikum, brother. Go to the rental dispute center, and they might be able to guide you further. They'll give you free advice at least to start with. Okay, but court notice is what I understand to be the first thing. RDC Center is also a good stop, right? There's nothing wrong with going there. It's in the land department, I believe, still, and there's a lot of parking now, right? Parking used to be an issue over there before. Now it's very, very, very easy. You can easily go there and get parking. Okay, so Abhishek, don't worry. This is part of the process of being a landlord. Don't let this spoil your mood, and don't let this put you off from property investments in Dubai. Dubai is still a very good place. You'll probably be able to get the money out. Okay, the other thing I would suggest, okay, again, this is just my opinion. You don't take this advice. Do what you want to do best. Is if you go through the court system, it could take 2 months or 3 months or 4 months or 1 month, whatever the process is. The way that I would solve this problem, and again, this is not legal advice. Okay, this is just my opinion. You should speak to a lawyer. The way I could solve this, I would recommend solving this problem is sitting with them and then just saying, look, you've got these many missed payments. How about we just let you walk away? Okay, how about we just let you walk away today? The counter or the opposite is, if we go to court, the court will find you that you did not pay the rent on time. The court will then give you a travel ban, and then you'll have to pay, and then things will become even worse for you. How about we just, I can save the court fees, I can save the time, I can rent the apartment. How about we just let you walk away? The problem is you can't do this. You've got to have that property management company talking to them. When you do it, there's a whole thing and a whole scenario about negotiating in tough situations, right? You've got to play good cop, bad cop, right? So you've got to have that company. That's why you've got to have property management done professionally, guys, at whatever level you guys are at, whether one property or 10 property, unfortunately. Okay. All right, guys. Okay, sorry about that. Just a call coming through. Altaf 4450. Hello, how are you? Just give me 1 second, please. Okay, so this is, thanks for your advice, Abhishek. You're welcome. You're very welcome. I'm Salman011. Welcome. Hey, guys, here's a good question from an agent. How do I stay relevant when investors are increasingly using AI online? Don't worry. Even you can use AI online, right? So what's the worry if you've got AI and your investors have AI? It's okay. It's your AI versus their AI. You've got an advantage. You know what's the advantage you've got? I'm going to give you an example. A client of ours came back with a report that said that this particular area is best for investment. And that particular area, the lowest price units are way above their budget. Like we're talking multi-million dollar mansions. What they didn't realize, what AI doesn't realize, or what they don't realize is when AI is giving you, AI is like sometimes it's 100% wrong, sometimes it's 20% wrong, sometimes it's 30% wrong, sometimes 50% wrong, sometimes it's completely wrong, right? So what you don't realize sometimes is that AI, as best as it is sometimes, you do need, AI is very important to be trained, and AI is very important to be trained correctly. So this is interesting because as AI progresses and as we progress in our usage of AI, what we're learning is that, like the last year was always about prompt engineering. If you can write the perfect prompt, you can get the perfect response. But now we've gone away and on from prompting, right? So prompts are good. You still have to get the best prompt, etc., etc., etc. But we are beyond prompts right now. The reality of the situation is that you have to actually have beyond prompting, right? Sorry, guys. Guys, here to take questions. If you guys have any questions, happy to take them across from you. Okay, where are we? Okay, so guys, AI, don't worry. You also have AI. Use your AI to speak to their AI. Plus, it's about how you train your AI. So, what do I mean by training your AI? It's not just about AI. It's about how you. It's not about prompting because you can say, "Find me the best deal in Dubai right now today." There's so many parameters you're going to be absolutely missing out that without ground knowledge you're not going to be able to do it. And I talk about this to my friends, like, if somebody's a cybersecurity expert, I talk about this to them and I say, look, if you're a cybersecurity expert, okay, I'm giving you an example from another field, another industry. If you're a cybersecurity expert, oh, okay, hi Twana, how are you? So if you're a cybersecurity expert and if you were provided a plan to see how things are in terms of cybersecurity for, let's say, a hotel, you being a cybersecurity expert will most likely easily be able to read the document, the tech specs, and understand the plan and identify the risks. If I, not being a cybersecurity expert, take all of that information and put it into AI and say, identify the risks, the hotspots, the good, the bad, the ugly, even though AI is going to be able to tell me, I, as a non expert, I'm not going to be able to judge it in a good way. So the ideal situation is that you're going to have local knowledge for you to be able to identify correctly where AI is taking you. And as Twana would agree with me, thanks for joining us, Twana, is that it's not just about the prompting anymore, it's also about how you're training the AI. And if you're not training it correctly, then you're not going to get a good response, right? Okay. So here's a question from an agent, right? Hello, Fahd. Great topic. Oh, great topic, right? Can I share a story with people here, right? So, guys, this is something that everybody is not struggling, but I would say adapting to. That almost everybody's got access to AI, right? So, and then there's different levels of how AI. People are using AI just to write emails. People are using it to do advanced research, and then some people, I don't know them right now, I wish to become one of them, are using AI to their absolute max potential. So whether it's in real estate, whether it's in software development, whether it's in uh, gardening, whatever the case might be, wherever you're using AI, guys, listen. The more you train yourself, the better you'll be able to handle and service your clients. I personally think that there is going to be an upgrading of service levels with AI, and we'll get better as we start implementing more and more in our businesses, right? I don't think that it's going to be a bad thing for whether it's real estate agents, whether it's software developments at the stage where they do level software developments or regular software development as well. I think it's going to be something that helps people. I don't think it's going to take away from people in that sense. Okay, I want to I want to give something. I want to come back to this question that I had about this landlord asking that the tenant is not paying. Guys, one of the things then, and I would love to hear, Twana, how you deal with your tenants if they've never paid or if they don't pay. Is my advice again is always maintain a very professional relationship with your tenant. I would almost say try not to have WhatsApp communication and keep things on email. For some reason, WhatsApp in itself becomes quite informal. And then when you keep things on email, it makes it more formal, not just for a record of all the communication, but also beyond that, it every party, each side, to take note of what they're saying and what they're committing to in the email, right? So if your tenant told you that they're going to pay you 10 days later, when they're putting it on email, they're at least, in my opinion, being a little bit recognizing the fact that they're putting it on email to be a little bit more professional and a little bit more committed to the whole scenario, right? So I would recommend, please, guys. In fact, for those of you, now this is a recommendation, okay? For those of you managing your property yourself, don't do WhatsApp communication. Now you're gonna be like, Sadhan Sheikh, welcome. You're gonna be like, why can't do WhatsApp communication, guys? Force yourself to go over on email. It's going to help you do it better. Now, in the rare occasion, if you're visiting or inspecting the property for XYZ reason, you're okay to say to the person, hey, I'm running 20 minutes late, or can I meet a little bit earlier? But then after your meeting, document it on email. This is because I could tell you many times, don't become friends with your tenant, and you guys are not going to understand this, and you're not going to know how to apply this. See, Twana, how many properties he owns? In the multiple tens of properties, right? So we're talking 40, 50 properties, bless you. Look at this gem of an advice, Twana. I gotta screenshot this so I can share this with people as well. Okay, so gem of advice given by Twana. My secret, I hide myself from the tenants and always use a good property agent. Having tenants access to you as an owner is not good, and the sooner you remove yourself, the better. Okay, this is like the bottom line and the top line, right? The best advice is he's just decided like remove himself from the tenant. But then when you're using a good property agent, Twana, I think it's your mindset, because you're thinking, if you have 40 properties, how are you going to manage 40 properties yourself anyways? The thing is, everybody who gets in the property business has the dream to have 40, 50, 100 properties, because it equals to more income to them, right? Everybody wants to do that. Yet they're not willing to let go of managing the property themselves, or to pay a professional to manage it. So how did you overcome that, Twana? Did you, on the first properties that you started investing in, let's say in Ireland or Dublin, were you managing the property in the initial period yourself? And at what stage did you make the switch to say, okay, now I got to get a professional property agent in who's going to do it for me? That's my question to you. Okay, I think it's going to make sense for a lot of people who are getting onto the property ladder in Dubai or across the globe, and they're thinking, okay, well, should I be managing my property myself or not? My personal opinion, absolutely not. And the sooner you start doing it with a property agent, yeah, I made so look, this gentleman, Twana Daniel, he made the switch on property number 2, right? So it freed him up to focus on things that he does best, right? Software development, growing his business, so that he can focus on adding more properties to his portfolio rather on focusing on managing the property. This is like a good thing, actually. Twana, we should talk about this on a Google link, and then tell people about property management as well, because sometimes it's the small things. And this is something I realized the other day. Like, some people said that businesses that scale are businesses that have processes and systems in place. It's not, yes, it's about the product. Yes, it's about solving a problem. Yes, it's about not solving a problem, but doing something even bigger than solving a problem. All of that is true. But the way you scale any business, bottom line is you have to have processes and systems in place. And property management, or managing your property the correct way, is a process and a system that you're going to have to think through and say, look, I want to absolutely go down and do this, right? Because if you're thinking, I'll just do it myself, property one. Look at Twana Daniel. He made the switch on property number 2. Can you guys imagine, right? And that's how you grow. How do you assess what rent to demand? Okay, Twana, I want you also to step in, because you've got almost like 10 properties here. So I want you to welcome Real Estate Info 25. if you have experience renting out properties, you can jump in real estate info as well. Okay, we are today on location. We're not at the office. We're running our live from location. This is a beautiful property in Jumeirah Gulf Estates. Huge property, and we're running our live from here. Okay, Saad, I'm going to answer your question. Twana, I'd love to hear your opinion as well, because you get 40 plus odd properties rented every year, or you keep your tenants happy and they stay with you. But I want to hear from you how you decide on what rent to demand. Saad, I'm going to give you my opinion. Okay. So what we do is you do a competitive market analysis. The word seems more complicated than the actual task. Okay. It's very simple. Let's say you've got an apartment in any community. Okay, what you would do ideally is you would go online and you would check what are the advertised rents. Now, whatever the rents are being advertised at, do not take that as the guideline to what rent you can get, because advertised rents do not translate always to what the property rents for. Okay, instead, you're going to start just getting a little bit of a general idea. Then a property that looks similar to your property, obviously, because you're looking at a property. Oh, I didn't explain this, but you're going to filter properties similar to yours or as close to yours. So let's say you've got property that's 2,000 square feet. You're looking at properties maximum at 2,200 square feet. Okay, you're not looking at 3,000 square feet properties for comparables. Once you start doing a filtered search, you're going to start seeing asking rents. Once you click on the lowest one first, and then scroll to the bottom, and you'll see what apartments or villas or mansions in that community rented for in the last 3 months, 6 months. You'll get the data. Okay, so now you're looking at advertised rent was 100,000, and you're seeing that properties closed at 90, 95, 105, 85. Now you're starting to look at the size of the apartments to make sure that your apartments match that size. Okay. So Twana says, I don't micromanage. I'm coming back to you, Saad. I'm listening to this. I don't micromanage a property agent. I pass this to the agent who is the expert. I focus on my business to make more money. All right. Thanks, Twana. I appreciate it. I focus on my business to make more money. If I need to micromanage my agent, that tells me I need to change the agent. Guys, look, think like this. Think like a business owner. Think like somebody who's scaling his portfolio. Thanks, Twana. I appreciate it. Real estate info. What are your thoughts on this? Gents, I need to leave to business meeting. I'll watch the replay. Thank you very much. Twana, I appreciate you coming in and giving us your feedback. It was and is a pleasure. Absolutely. Okay. Okay, so I was just trying to take this screenshot on the Daniel, so I can actually then tag you later. So real estate info, what do you think about this, Saad? So go to Property Finder, go to any of the portals, okay? Go to any of the portals that you want, and then from the portals, what you end up doing is you look at a filtered search to your properties, but then you see what they're renting at, right? So some people might be asking for 100,000 today, but they're not renting at 100,000, right? So they're renting at, let's say, maybe 85, 95. Now here's the kicker. Here's what you need to do. You need to call these agents. When you call these agents, what's going to happen is you speak to them and you say, listen, I've got this property. Don't be scared of agents. Don't be scared of agents. Agents are okay. You're going to talk to them and you're going to say, hey, I've got this property and I'd like to rent it out. What do you think would be the ideal rental amount? Rashid, 1988, male joint, mashallah. What do you think would be the ideal amount? And you've got to push the agent to be completely, absolutely honest. The problem is most landlords will not have the questions already with the questions to be able to ask them exactly how much the property will rent for if if you ask them to rent it in 1 week. Because you've got to get to the bottom. I'll tell you something. Sometimes agents are good, they're honest, but they don't understand the reality of the market. They might be running a property for 2 months and not rented it out. The question you got to ask the agent is, fine, Maher, how are you? Assalamu alaikum. The question you've got to ask the agent is, how long have you been showing this property? Have you had any viewings? And then have you had any offers, right? If they've not had any offers, then the reality is that that property is not properly priced. So you're going to get a very clear answer. And if you do this a couple of times, two, three times, you're going to start getting really good with understanding how to manage and how to rent these properties and get your clients going, right? So you won't have a very, very tough time. All right, guys. So I've got some questions from an investor here. More questions. Yeah, so there was a question actually. It's very interesting that the question was, at what stage does it make sense to hire a property manager? So we've heard one of the investors who's got tens and tens of properties, 40 plus properties across the globe. And this is what he had to say, right? That at property number two, or I think it was property number two or property number three, property number two, he made the switch, right? He made the switch to property number two. I don't know, guys. Depends on how you think and how you want to grow. If you want to grow and if you want to have more properties, then focus on earning more money and extracting more money, praying to God for more money for yourself, so that more money will come to you, and then you will be okay. Okay? Yeah. Does that make sense? Bismillah. All right, guys. Hope it makes sense. Okay, guys, shoot across more questions if you have. Real estate info. Do you do rentals? Do you do sales? How do you manage to assess rent? Saad, did I answer your question? Did I answer your question, Saad? Yeah? Okay. I think I did. Assess what rent to demand. I think I was able to. And generally speaking, if you leave this to your property managers, they will give you a full report on where rent should be. Okay. And if you have that full report, you will be okay. Okay. So let's take a question from an agent. Oh. So the question is, when investors ask about blockchain property transactions and tokenized real estate, how do I position traditional buying methods? Look, it's very easy. When you're tokenizing real estate and you're buying property on a blockchain, you're actually one part of the ownership of, let's say, 1,000 other people or 5,000 other people. But and that's fine, right? What's wrong with that? There's nothing. How many people over here? So let me ask the people who are watching, like real estate info, Saad, Krishna, Sadaful Islam. How many people over here would actually go and buy tokenized real estate, right? Having error on YouTube. Just one second, guys, I'll fix this error. Okay, so YouTube just was having some error. Islam Sadef, you have to drop off. No problem, no problem. Thank you for joining in. Jazakallah khair. If you have a question, please shoot that across. So I was asking real estate info, Roshan, Saad, if you guys had the ability to buy tokenized real estate, would you do it? I personally think there's nothing wrong with it. Okay, as long as it's safe, secure, regulated, go ahead. The difference of explaining it to investors is to say, hey, if you buy tokenized real estate, you're one of 1,000 investors or one or of 500 investors, and that's fine, right? There's nothing wrong with that. The only difference that you've got to make sure that you're aware of is that when you're investing, is when you buy your own property, you're completely in charge, and the learning experience is going to be completely different instead of tokenized real estate. Both are okay. Both have pros and cons, right? It's like starting a business, great rewards, risks are high. Buying a stock in a company, risks are generally lower because you've got less money capital deployed and you're doing less work as well, right? You're hopefully getting the dividends from the company. Okay, so real estate info, would you buy tokenized real estate? Okay, no answer. Okay, check this out. Yes, many thanks. Another one. How many agents should you work with when finding a tenant? I was advised to get more than one. No, you should get one who's good. Okay. How do you do this? The way you do this is you can interview three, you can interview four, but you've got to assign one who's the best. And I'll tell you why. Because unless you are going to be an agent yourself and you know how the game is played and you know what's going on and what's happening in what way, you're going to have a little bit of stress. And in my opinion, when I say a little bit of stress, you're going to have a lot of stress having to deal with two agents. When you've got one, yes, as you explained, there is no harm. Okay, there is no harm, mashallah. This is, we say, explained with few words, but in very adaptive, succinct way. Yes, as you explained, there's no harm. Thank you for agreeing with me. Jazakallah khair, barakallah. Now, Saad, the thing is, what you can do is you can interview three or five, and then the person you trust and the person you feel is competent is the one you work with. Okay, this is my opinion. Okay, but he should then work with all the other agents, right? He shouldn't be just working on his own. He should be open to other agents coming in to doing that rental. If you say, hey, if another agent has a potential good tenant, would you be working and willing to work with them? And if they say no, that's a red flag. So you should say no. Then I cannot give it to you as sole agent. Then I want to give it to two agents. But if they say yeah, no problem, then what you end up doing is you end up having more than one agent. You have one agent, but he's handling all the agents for you, and then he's streamlining the offers, the reviewing. But he has to have the brains to be able to do that, and you've got to know and watch out on him doing it the correct way. This is very, very normal and common in international markets that an agent that's appointed has the brains and the common sense to work with all agents in a very, very professional way. Dahamandai asks, okay, this is a good question. What's the best sales funnel according? An agent should follow from initial call to closing or long-term relationship. So both are not, these are not mutually exclusive, right? These are not mutually exclusive. To keep our YouTube stream running as well. Yeah. Okay. I hope things are okay on YouTube. Anybody who's watching on YouTube, Krishna, just let me know. Okay. Dahamandai says, what's the best sales funnel? Basically, I think I understand what you're saying, Taha Shakil. I understand what you're saying. Are you saying like, okay, talk to the person, call them and say, hey, are you looking to buy and then sell them and then go away? Or you're saying, hey, should I maintain a long-term relationship? Simple advice is, of course, you've got to maintain a long-term relationship. Why? Everybody doesn't buy on day one. People are at different stages of the buy cycle. So people might just be curious. People might be thinking, hey, I want to buy, but I'm not sure. So they might be at that unsure stage. Okay. They might be at the stage where they're thinking, maybe, maybe not. they might be at the stage where they're doing property selection and shortlisting. And then while they're doing property selections and shortlisting, they might have something to go away to. They might have a marriage to go away to. They might have university to go away to. They might have a career to go away to. So they might go away for 2 to 3 months. So if you're thinking, hey, if you didn't buy today, I'm not interested in talking to you, goodbye. I don't know, how do you run that, right? How would you ever manage that in the long term? Because at the end of the day, what's going to happen is that client is at some stage going to come back to the market and they're going to buy from somebody else. So if you've dealt with this client and you've been with them and you've helped them, and like right at the last moment they're like, no, I don't want to buy from you, or they buy from someone else because you stop being in touch with them, that's not going to make sense, right? Does that make sense? Does that make sense? Okay, hopefully it makes sense. All right, guys, we're coming around to the last final part of our live. I don't see any more questions coming across. I want you guys to have a wonderful day, blessed day. Smile, smile, guys, smile. Anybody smiling? You're less smiling, guys. Remember, we are a very tiny, 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 tiny part of this universe. Allah is the creator. He controls all. We ask him for khair, and we ask him for blessings for all of us, and in our paths forward. All right, guys, I'm going to end this live today. Jazakallah khair for everybody who attended Real Estate Info. You are a strong stamina warrior. You still hear Krishna, Ash, and I say goodbye to you guys on Instagram and on YouTube. Thanks very much for joining. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi